Should I start the class as everyone joined? I think all of you have joined. So today's topic is factors affecting the growth and development of the fetus and something about teratogenesis. When we talk about the growth of the fetus, we should know the basics of embryological development of the baby. So in this today's lecture, I'm going to discuss about the embryological development, what are the factors which contribute to the fetal growth and development, and what is teratogenesis, and what are different teratogenic agents, and what are their further effects on the fetal growth and um, malformations. Now let's discuss about the normal embryological growth. So when we talk about the we are discussing the prenatal growth. Prenatal growth means whatever intrauterine growth. So when the ovum is formed, it gets fertilized by around day 14 of a normal menstrual cycle. In a normal menstrual cycle, duration is around 28 days. Okay, so out of this cycle, on the day 14 of the cycle, there is ovulation occurs, and if fertilization takes place, it also takes place on the same day. So we divide the embryological growth into various stages. One is the pre-final period, That is a period before the implantation. Then comes the embryonal period, and then comes the fetal period. So these are the three important uh, mm, periods of the prenatal growth. So what about the pre-embryonal period? As I told you, that is the period before the implantation. So when the ovulation occurs, fertilization occurs, further zygote is formed, and then this zygote gets further cleavage, moruli stage, then blastomere stage. All these stages are formed. Up to the stage of the blastocyst formation, this pre-embryonal period is known as and this period is known as pre-embryonal period. So on the day 7 of the post-conception, this is I'm talking about the post-conception. When the fertilization takes place, we count as the day 1, and on the day 7 of the fertilization, this blastocyst stage it gets implanted in the uterine cavity. So now further the embryonal period starts. When we calculate the period of gestation or the total intrauterine life of a fetus, we have two methods of calculation. Either we can start from the last menstrual period, so the total duration of the gestation is around 40 weeks. But if we count the actual age of the fetus, we have to count from the ovulation or the from the day of the fertilization. So we have to calculate. Now we are talking about the post conception phase. So when we are talking about the post-conception, it is always reduced from the gestational age by 2 weeks. So there is a difference between the gestational age calculated by LMP and post-conception age. So the gestation age by LMP is always 2 weeks more than the post-conception uh, period of gestation. Okay. So now the embryonal period starts from the implantation. And what happens in the embryonal period? Initially, this blastocyst is formed, and in the blastocyst, there is formation of the bilaminar and the trilaminar pre-somite stage of the embryonal development. And these are the stages which are seen from the day 7 to day 20 of the post-conception. Okay, so in the embryonal period is starting from the day 8. Okay, sorry, day 7 of the post conception. So it has further two stages. One is the blastogenesis phase, and second is the embryonal organogenesis. So what is the difference between the two stages? In the blastogenesis phase, there is formation of the bilaminar and trilaminar pre-somite stages. And further, when the organogenesis starts occurring, then the embryonal organogenesis phase starts, which begins with the formation of the first somite, and it ends with the fusion of the eyelid. This is the important landmark, that is the fusion of eyelids, which is the landmark which differentiates the embryonal stage from the fetal stage. Okay, so this starts formation of the first somite starts from the day 19 or day 20 of the post fertilization, and it ends at day 56 to day 60 of the post conception. During the embryonal organogenesis, primordia of all the organs are formed. So all the organs have started originating, and their primordial form are formed. So the embryo attains a specific human form. So that is the phase which is more prone to the various teratogenic agents and various different type of exposure, because any teratogenic
Yeah.
exposure during hello, is there any problem? So any teratogenic exposure during the embryonal phase of the fetus, during the embryonal phase of the prenatal life, can result into the various malformation and anomalies in the baby. So you have to remember this. This embryonal period is very important. It starts from the day 7 of the post-conception phase, and it ends around uh, uh, 8 weeks of the post-conception phase. That is around 50 to 6 to 60 post-conception days. Now come the fetal period. So fetal period is starting with the week 9 of the post-conception phase, or if we have to see the gestational week, so we will add the 2 weeks in it. So gestational age 11. From the gestational age 11 up to the later period of the uterine life is known as the fetal life. Okay, so what is the important landmark which differentiates between the embryonal and the fetal period? That is the formation of the fused eyelids and distinct in human somatic characteristics. So what happens during the fetal period? Here the baby grows in the size, weight is increased, and the further all the organs or the systems they further grow. Okay, and at the end of the fetal period, that is around perinatal period, these eyelids they start separating, and fetus eyes they open their eyes. Okay. Now there is staging system of the embryonal development. If we see the embryological development, there are various stages, but these stages are not corresponding to the number of weeks of the period of gestation. There are some different stages. Okay, if we see in the number of weeks, we have different table in that. So I just want to give you brief information about the various stages. We have from starting from the stage 1 to stage 10. Okay, so these are the various stages. Why these stages have been defined? Because in every stage there are distinct growth which can be seen externally as well as internally in the embryo or fetus. Okay, like in the stage 1 of the prenatal phase, it is only unicellular stage. In the stage 2, blastomeres are formed. In the stage 3, blastodermic stage. Similarly, in the stage 4, there is bilaminar embryo stage. Okay, and in stage 4 is further divided into 1, 2, 3. In the stage 5, there is formation of primitive streak. In the stage 6, there is completely open neural tube grooves, neural tube closing, both ends open, one or both the neuropores closed. So these are the various stages which you have learned during the anatomy also, how the fetus grows. Okay, so these stages last up to stage 10, where all the at the end of the fetal growth all the development has taken place. But if we see according to the period of gestation, okay, period of gestation, as I told you, it can be calculated from the day of fertilization or conception, or it can be calculated from the LMP. So obviously the LMP will be the gestation calculated from LMP will be more than the gestation calculated from the conception. So it is always 2 weeks more from the gestation calculated from conception. So in this table, I am just trying to tell you what are the various sequences which are seen in the embryonic and fetal phase of the prenatal life. Okay, in the pre-embryonal stage, this is the 0 to 2 days from the conception. There is formation of the fertilized oocyte, which is unicellular. From day 2 to 4, that is all from the conception. From day 2 to 4, there is formation of blastomeric, which consists of 16 to 20 blastomeres. That is the morula stage. From day 4 to 7, there is formation of the blastocyst. Okay, at around this stage, this blastocyst has already entered into the uterine cavity, and all these stages during these stages they also this fertilized embryo, it also transported from the ovary through the fallopian tube and ultimately to the uterine cavity. So at this stage it reaches into the uterine cavity, and during the embryonal stage, that is the formation of bilaminar embryo, at this stage it is already implanted. Okay, blastogenesis stage, there is from day 7 to 15 from the conception, there is formation of bilaminar plate, primitive yolk sac, secondary yolk sac, trilaminar embryo stage, then consecutively with primitive streak and notochordal process with neural folds, early somite stage. So the blastogenesis stage ends at the stage of early somite stage. When all the somites are formed, up to this phase we call it as the blastogenesis stage. Okay, Now the organogenesis stage is starting, where from the day 20 from the post conception there is formation neural tube and gradually formation of the limbs and buds of the proximal extremity, buds of proximal distal extremities, all the extremities are formed. And in this table, hmm, digital tubercles and late embryonal stage, when the embryo with differentiated extremities including the fingers and toes, they are formed up to this stage. Okay, eyes open. Initially in the embryo, eyes remains open, there is no formation of eyelids. Eyelids are formed after the formation of eyes. So when the eyelids are formed, they grow towards each other and they get fused with each other. So that is the landmark where your embryonal stage ends and the fetal stage starts. Okay, now in the fetal stage, all the systems have already formed. They will now grow. Okay, so in the perinatal stage, these eyes again open because these fused eyelids they open. So this is the broader outline of the embryogenesis. But the point which I want to focus today in my lecture is you should know what is pre-embryonal stage, what is embryonal stage, and what is fetal stage. So broadly, you should remember pre-embryonal stage, that is up to day 7 from the post-conception. Your embryonal stage starts from day 7 to day 8 of the post-conception period, or you can say up to 10 weeks from the LMP. And after 10 weeks, your fetal phase starts. Okay, this you will remember. Now in this figure, you can see this is the age of the embryo in weeks. Okay, but this age of embryo in weeks we are calculating from the fertilization. It is not from the LMP. So our upper limit is up to 38 weeks only. But if we add 2 weeks in it, it will be 40 weeks. Okay, so it is not from the LMP. So in the initial 1 week, there is only dividing zygote in. Okay, this fertilized zygote, it gets divided, morula is formed, then this blastocyst is formed. Blastocyst, when there is an empty cavity inside this, and there is a fetal cells which ultimately form the bilaminar layer and trilaminar layer. Okay, in this stage, in the subsequently, this is the embryonal stage has started, and formation of the various organs. So this dark blue and light blue symbolizes that in this period from third week to 16 week from the fertilization, these are the symptoms. If any exposure of the teratogen occurs, these are the symptoms which will be majorly affected. And if any insult occurs during this phase from the 20 weeks to 38 weeks from the fertilization, the CNS may get affected, but it is not the major affection. Only the minor affection show can be there. So light blue signifies the minor affection and dark blue signifies the major affection during this period of the development. Okay. Similarly, for all the other organs, like in the CNS, CNS is majorly affected if affection occurs during this phase, and later on it is minorly affected. Similarly, heart formation can be majorly affected during this phase, and it can be minorly affected during this phase. Similarly, upper limb, eyes, lower limbs, teeth, palate, external genitalia, ear. Okay. Now come to the various terminologies what you understand by growth, differentiation, development. It is nothing new. All of you know what is growth. It is the increase in the size due to an increase of the existing function units. What is differentiation? Differentiation is the particular specialization where the relative simple system gets changed into the complicated one. Like we talk about during the growth of the fetus, initially all there are totipotent cells, then later on they get differentiated into the various ectodermal, endodermal, mesodermal or origin of the cells, and consecutively they form their systems. So the differentiation is related to the switching on of genes that were not operating previously, or every cell has same genetic pattern, but there are some genes which are not expressed at, but they are expressed only at particular time, and according to that differentiation takes place. It is accomplished by the formation of new structures, that is morphological differentiation, or it could be accomplished with the formation of the new chemicals, that is the chemical differentiation. And what is development? Development is related to the biological system which results in the in a selective time. It is a selective time related switching on and switching off of the gene. Hyperplasia and hypertrophy. Hyperplasia, as you know, that is the um, fetal growth is initially characterized by the cellular hyperplasia, which further leads to the ultimately by the followed by hyperplasia and hypertrophy, and lastly by the hypertrophy alone. So this thing, hyperplasia is the increase in the number of cells, and hypertrophy is the size is increasing but the number remains same. So in the developmental phase, initially only hyperplasia, cellular hyperplasia occurs, then hyperplasia, hypertrophy both, and ultimately hypertrophy alone. So the growth of the fetus increases up to 37 weeks, and all you know it is controlled by various factors. So now we will discuss about the what are the various factors which control or which influence the fetal growth and its further development. So we have so many factors under which can control the fetal growth. We have maternal factors, genetic factors, fetal growth factors, placental factors, and environmental factors. Okay, so we will deal all of these factors one by one. And you should know what are the different causes which can result in the congenital anomalies in the baby. In most of the cases, we don't know what is the exact cause, or the cause could be not only one, it could be the combination of the various causes. So, in the 70% of the cases, or either it is multifactorial or unknown. Genetic factors constitute 20%, environmental factors constitute 10%, intrauterine infection constitute 2%, and maternal metabolic disorders constitute 2%. Thus, exposure to drugs and chemicals can be responsible for 5% of the congenital anomalies, and ionizing radiation around 1%. Okay, so we will discuss what are the maternal factors which can affect the fetal growth. Like maternal factors, there are so many maternal factors which can affect the fetal growth. One is the maternal body habitus, the genetic constitution of the mother, the height and weight of the mother, the nutrition of the mother, any infection in the mother, any disease in the mother, and some metabolic disorders in the mother, and any intake of the alcohol and drug intake by the mother. Okay, so there are so many factors: smoking by the mother, alcohol intake by the mother. As you know, ki there are various different effects by all these factors. Like if the mother is smoking, obviously there is growth retardation in the baby, and if there's some exposure or intake of the excessive alcohol and drug intake, that will also lead to the affection of the fetal growth. The various diseases like diabetes, epilepsy, and infection in the mother, they are also responsible. Maternal height, weight, nutrition, and parity, that will also correlate directly to the fetal growth and weight, and the placental weight also. And calorie intake of the mother is also going to affect the fetal growth. What are the genetic factors? This we are talking about the genetic factors of the baby, not of the mother. So that is the most important internal developmental factor for the baby. In the genetic factors, we have two types of genetic factors. It could be the structural. If we talk about the genes of the baby, it could be the structural genes and it could be regulatory genes. In the structural genes, these are of three types: housekeeping genes, cell typing gene, and cell specific gene. In the housekeeping genes are related to the cellular life and cell cycle. The different other type of the cell typing gene, which is responsible for the coding organ specific characteristics of the cell, and cell specific genes are the responsible for coding of specific secretory products of the cells like hormone. The other type of regulatory genes are those genes which bind um, to the DNA and regulate the sequences of the expression of the other structural genes. So these are the regulatory genes which regulate the all other type of the expression of the structural genes. Okay. What are the growth factors? एक तो हो गया कि जेनेटिक पैटर्न कैसा है उस बेबी का, तो जेनेटिक पैटर्न तो है ही, बैकबोन है कि जिस तरह के उसके जीन्स होंगे उसी तरह की उसकी फर्दर ग्रोथ और डेवलपमेंट होगी। एक होता है growth factors which are secreted in the body, various organs of the body and as well as in the placenta as well as in the fetus during the intrauterine life. So what are these growth factors? Growth factors are the peptides or the proteins that regulate the cellular proliferation and differentiation. There are so many growth factors and these are the important ones. Insulin family, insulin and insulin like growth factors, IGF-1, IGF-2, okay, relaxin, nerve growth factor, human placenta, lactogen growth factors, transforming growth factor family, TGF, beta, Mullerian inhibiting substance, MIS, inhibin A and B, activins, platelet derived growth factor family, epidermal growth factor family, heparin binding growth factor family. I'm not going into the details of these various growth factors, but they are important. You should know what are the different growth factors. So what do they do? How they regulate the fetal growth? What happens ki these growth factors they bind to the specific cellular receptors and they result in the induction of some specific genes. Okay, by the formation of the RNA synthesis. Okay, next, these growth factors can also trigger the intracellular messengers, including the phosphoproteins, and some growth factors exhibit a protein tyrosine and protein kinase C activity also. These growth factors will also lead to the formation of the various cytokines like lymphokines, interleukins, tumor necrosis factors. These are the factors which are important for the programmed cell death, that is apoptosis, epithelial proliferation, and specific cell differentiation. So basically, it is a very um, complex things if we go into the details of various genetic factors and growth factors. But this is the broader outline which you should understand. Now, what are the environmental factors which can affect the fetal growth? In the environmental factors, we have a long list. The environmental factors could be the exposure of the mother to the obviously this is the environmental factors for the mother, pregnant mother, which is exposed to the smoking, medicinal drugs, recreational drugs, alcohol, pathogens, radiation, malnutrition, and excessive vitamin intake, and indirectly it will affect to the fetus. Now come to the disturbance in the fetal growth and differentiation. Actually होता क्या है कि जब कोई बेबी अफेक्ट हो रहा है या किसी की ग्रोथ अफेक्ट हो रही है, उसकी डिफरेंशिएशन अफेक्ट हो रही है, उसको how will we understand कि what type of growth and differentiation is affected? So we have to classify what different types of abnormalities can occur in an affected fetus. Okay, so the pathogenic classification of the congenital disorders of the growth and differentiation is as follows. So this pathogenic this basic of the congenital disorder can be of various types. Like there could be some problem or some defect in the nuclear genome of the baby. There could be some problem disorders of the mitochondrial genome of the baby, or there could be multifactorial sporadic disorders. When there is a disorders of the nuclear genome, these disorders can take place in the whole of the chromosome, or it could be the affection of only one gene, not whole of the chromosome. Okay, so the nuclear genome can be affected when there is an error of the nuclear DNA and chromosome. In the chromosomal disorders, you know these disorders of the number and shape of the chromosome number, like there could be trisomy 21 which results in the Down syndrome. So there is extra number of the chromosome 21, so the number gets affected, or the shape of the chromosome can also get affected. But in the monogenic disorder, the chromosome number and shape remains same, but only one particular gene gets affected, and it is inherited by the Mendelian inheritance pattern. So it could be autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked, or Y-linked. There could be disorders of the mitochondrial genome. You know, there is a different genome in the mitochondria which is maternally inherited. So there could be affection of that and multifactorial sporadic disorders. In the nuclear genome, the most frequent chromosomal disorders which we encounter is the trisomy. So the trisomy can be of chromosome number 21, which is known as Down syndrome, or chromosome 13 trisomy can be there, Patau syndrome, and chromosome 18 trisomy is known as Edwards syndrome. Okay, so these are all the three trisomies in the autosomal chromosome. Okay, trisomies of the other autosomes are lethal, and they result usually in the abortion during the first stage of the pregnancy. Trisomies of the sex chromosome can be there, like X47XXY. There is extra one X chromosome, which is known as Klinefelter syndrome. There is extra Y chromosome, with 47XYY syndrome and 47X triple X syndrome. Okay, so but we are mm, putting the emphasis like there are one is the sex chromosome and rest are the autosomal chromosome. So out of the autosomal chromosome, only three syndromes are important when the trisomy occurs, and baby can survive and it can result in a viable fetus at the birth. But other trisomies are lethal. Out of these, if we exclude these, the other trisomies are lethal. They will never result in a viable fetus. Okay, but the trisomies of sex chromosome can result in a live fetus, and there are fetuses with triploidy, like 3X chromosome, 2X and Y, 1X and 2Y. They have severe IUGR, multiple anomalies, malformations, and they are also either they are aborted dead. And there is involvement of only one gene. What happens when the one gene is affected? Loosely, these abnormalities result in the metabolic as well as dysmorphic disorders. Some are characterized by the specific metabolic and morphologic sequences related to the storage of the excessive metabolite. Okay, so if there is one gene is affected, usually that results in some abnormality in the metabolism. When there is trisomy occurs, there is formation of some particular syndrome. Okay, in the if there is disorder in the mitochondrial gene, there is formation of there can be myopathies, cardiomyopathies, retinopathy, encephalopathy, and these defects are related to the metabolism of the ATP. The defect includes substrate transport and energy conservation and cytochrome deficiency. And the important thing is these mitochondrial disorders are maternally inherited. The multifactorial sporadic disorders are affected by the hereditary background. They are related to the teratogen, sporadic anomalies, and malformation of unknown etiology. So if we discuss about the teratogenesis, so that comes under this category, multifactorial sporadic disorders. What is teratogen? Teratogen could be any drug, any chemical, it could be an infection, it could be some physical condition, or it could be some deficiency which on fetal exposure can alter the fetal morphology and subsequent function. That is the your definition of teratogen. So if we classify the teratogens, they can be broadly classified into biological teratogens, chemical and physical. Biological teratogens are the maternal diseases like maternal diabetes or some maternal infections. Chemical teratogens are the toxic chemicals, including some medicaments, and physical teratogens are the high temperature, ionizing radiation, X-rays, and mechanical injuries. Okay, so these are the three broader categories of the teratogens. We will briefly discuss about each of these categories, like maternal diabetes mellitus. It is a there is definitive increase in the malformation among the offspring of the diabetic mothers. And there are two groups of the anomalies which are related to the maternal diabetes. One is the malformation and another is the fetopathy. Malformation is the abnormal formation of the structural malformation or the structural abnormality in the fetus, and this typically occurs in the if the mother has uncontrolled blood sugar during the early stage of the pregnancy. And If the uncontrolled blood sugar occurs during the later stages of the pregnancy, that will result in the fetopathy. So the increased frequency of the malformations can be correlated with inadequate treatment of the diabetes during the first trimester of pregnancy. So most typical and most common malformation associated with the uncontrolled diabetes during the early pregnancy is the caudal regression, such as sacral and femoral agenesis and neural tube defect. If there is inadequately treated hyperglycemia occurs during the third trimester, then diabetic fetopathy occurs. So in the diabetic fetopathy, there is no structural malformation in the baby, but because of the hyperglycemia in the mother, this high blood sugar that gets goes into the fetus also, there is a hyperglycemia in the fetal circulation also, and because of hyperglycemia there is hypertrophy of the fetal pancreas, there is increased formation and secretion of the fetal insulin, and this insulin, by acting as an insulin growth factor, it will lead to the hypertrophy of the baby. So there is formation of the macrosomic baby, and this macrosomic baby is can be associated with the high increased liquor also. So this that is the formation of the macrosomic baby, which we known as the fetopathy. Some infections during the pregnancy can also act as the teratogenic agent, but you should remember during the gestation week 5 to 10, that is the stage which we have just discussed, that is the stage of the embryogenesis. So during this stage, even if that infectious agent is not directly going into the uterus, into the fetus, even in that stage it can lead to the formation of the malformation in the baby, because mother will have fever, and this fever or the increase in the maternal temperature itself is a teratogenic agent. Did you understand? During the early stages, in the phase of the embryogenesis, so any fever from any cause of occurs to the mother, it can result in the teratogenesis by the effect of the hyperthermia. Hyperthermia itself is a teratogenic agent. Temperature more than 39 degrees Celsius. And if the mother is having these infections, toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalovirus, herpes virus, syphilis, and varicella, these are the infections that will go to the fetus and they will affect the fetus and subsequently result in various malformations and the growth disturbance in the growth. What about chemical teratogen? There is a big list of the chemical teratogen. These are the potential consequences of the intake of the teratogenic substances are IUGR, fetal malformation, fetal demise, and spontaneous abortion. The action of a teratogen is related to the developmental period of the embryo or the fetus at the time of the intake by the mother. What happens during the stage of the 0 to 7 days from the conception? If the exposure to any teratogen occurs, either it will result in the all or none effect, which we known as all or none effect. Either that embryo zygote will be destroyed completely, or it will not be affected at all. During the differentiation stage, that is during the embryogenesis, if the exposure to the teratogen is occurring, it will lead to malformation, and in the later phase, during the fetal phase, if the exposure to teratogen occurs, it can result in the functional defect or the growth retardation. Okay, that is important to understand. Various human teratogens are aminoglycosides like gentamicin group of antibiotics, androgenic steroids, warfarin, cytostatic agent like chlorambucil, aminopterin, methotrexate, diethylstilbestrol, ethyl alcohol, lithium, methimazole, polychlorinated biphenyls, streptomycin, thalidomide, toluene, valproic acid, vitamin A congeners. So all these can result in the fetal affection. What about physical teratogens? In this category, we have hyperthermia, ionizing radiation, X-rays, and mechanical injuries. Hyperthermia, as I told you, a fever temperature more than 39 degrees Celsius during the gestation week 4 to 8 can lead to the formation of neural tube defect, microcephaly, or microphthalmia. Ionizing radiation has serious adverse developmental effect related to the period of gestation at exposure. The period in the human development most sensitive to the ionizing radiation is 18 to 36 days post conception. The most frequent malformation associated with the ionizing radiation is microcephaly and neural tube defect. The minimal dose which result in this microcephaly and NTD is around 20 rads. So minimal, if there is exposure of 20 rads, then only it will affect. The long-term effect of the irradiation could be leukemia and other malignancies. So although if there is exposure up to 20 from 20 rads and more, there could be malformation, or if the exposure is less, it could lead to long-term effect of leukemia and other malignancies in the baby. So in this table you can see the what is the fetal exposure in terms of the rats and millirats. Minimal dose was 20 rats when the fetal affection can occur. So 2 to 4 rats 2 to 4 rats exposure occurs during the barium enema and the small bowel series. And CT scan of the head and chest less than 1 rat. CT scan of pelvimetry 250 millirats, and CT scan of the abdomen and lumbar spine 3 to 5 rats. So 3.5 rats, 2 to 4 rats, these are the high exposure procedures. In this graph you can see up to 5 rats, this is the cutoff. Up to 5 rats there is no fetal affection, so up to 5 rats is safe. Okay. Now come to the mechanical injuries to the fetus, like any trauma to the mother during accidents or any trauma during the chorionic villus sampling. Trauma can occur to the placental tissue or during the amniocentesis or gynecological surgeries. So these are the mechanical injuries to the fetus, and it can result in some intraamniotic bleeding or disruption of the amnion and oligohydramnios, retroplacental hematoma, uterine bleeding. So in this stage, abortion can occur in most of the cases, but oligohydramnios can result in the formation of the face and limb deformities, pulmonary hypoplasia, breech presentation, and most cases of the oligohydramnios are related to the renal agenesis and or urethral obstruction, but these cases are not of the mechanical origin. Uterine anomalies can also result in the fetal deformities like auricular and craniofacial deformation, torticollis, and deformation of the limbs. Various chemical agents exposure, lead exposure can result abortion, IUGR, neurological damage, herbicide exposure, drugs like thalidomide, valproate, aminoglycosides. I'm not going into the details of each and every effect. Vitamin A is also teratogenic. That's why we always uh, see that there should not be any exposure to the vitamin A during the first trimester, because it can result in the neural tube defect, cardiac defect, cleft palate. Alcohol consumption can also result in the abortion, stillbirth, mental retardation, IUGR. There are some other local growth disturbances also. Local growth disturbances are classified as the anomalies, deformities, dysplasia, and malformation. These are the different terms which have different meanings. When we call as anomalies in the baby, so what are the anomalies? They are the quantitative or positional deviation from the normal, such as the IUGR, low set years. जो नॉर्मल एक बेबी फॉर्म हो रहा है उससे थोड़ा सा डेविएटेड है, like low set years, hypotelorism, excessive weight, cryptorchidism, arched palate, low hairline, hypoplasia of the nail. But it is not very much deformed. मतलब you can say कि it is not a malformation. Okay, कुछ ऐसा नहीं है कि बिल्कुल ही abnormal है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा normal वाली रेंज से हटकर है. डिफॉर्मिटीज क्या होती हैं? दीज आर द चेंजेस इन फॉर्म रिलेटेड टू द मैकेनिकल प्रेशर. मैकेनिकल प्रेशर से लिम्ब जो है डिफॉर्म हो सकते हैं, जैसे कि बेबी के लिम्ब जो फिट होते हैं वो कभी कभी सीटीबी जैसे होते हैं, तो उसमें डिफॉर्मिटीज हो रही है, लेकिन उनके अंदर भी कोई स्ट्रक्चरल एबनॉर्मैलिटीज नहीं हो रही है. Dysplasia and dysgenic changes are the related to the disturbed histogenesis of the affected organs. And malformation, they are typically means कि there is developmental changes presenting the structures that are not present in the normal individuals. Malformations होती है जो कभी भी normal individuals में नहीं मिलती हैं, उसमें अगर कुछ abnormal form इतनी abnormal होती है that is clearly away from the normal pattern. So these malformation could be minor or major. माइनर malformations तो compatible रहती हैं लाइफ के लिए, so that is not going to very much लीथल, लाइक एक्स्ट्रा डिजिट हो गया, किसी का एक्स्ट्रा टो हो गया, या माइल्ड हाइपोस्पैटियासिस हो गया। बट मेजर मेलफॉर्मेशन जो है वो लीथल हो सकती है, लाइक एनेंकेफेली, ओपन न्यूरल ट्यूब डिफेक्ट, ओरोफेशियल क्लैफ्ट, amputation of the limbs, and phocomelia. So these local growth disturbances, basically they are related to some edema, cellular proliferation, vascular anomalies including angiomas and AV aneurysm, and defect in the innervation. Congenital asymmetric atrophy may result from the vascular and nervous insult. In the last, I just want to tell you that we have discussed so many fetal defects in the fetal growth and development, but there are what are the methods by which we can pick these abnormalities, malformation, or anomalies as early as possible, so that in a period, safe period, we might give and we might offer the pregnant lady as a MTP as a method to avoid the birth of such a malformed baby. So, what are the various clinical methods to diagnose these abnormalities? We have ultrasound examination, that is very good. In the ultrasound examination, we have level 1 scan, level 2 scan. In the level 1 scan, which is done around 11 to 14 weeks, we can pick major malformation. In the level 2 scan, at around 18 to 20 weeks, we can do a detailed congenital anomaly. We can rule out most of the congenital anomalies. We have chromosomal analysis of the conceptors, like we can do the sampling by the chorionic villus sampling. We take the tissue and we can do the karyotyping, and we can do the genetic analysis. Sorry. In the genetic analysis, we isolate the DNA from the chorionic villi and further look for any monogenic abnormalities, or if there is some abnormality in one particular gene. Or we can take the ultrasound guided biopsy specimen of the fetal tissue, like fetal skin can be biopsied, fetal bone or cartilage, it can be biopsied, and analysis of the fetal DNA in the maternal blood. That is no very safe method of doing the prenatal diagnosis. Here, we don't touch the baby at all. We are not doing any invasive procedure on the baby. We just take the mother's blood and we isolate the fetal DNA in the maternal blood, and further we analyze that fetal DNA. So what happens? The fetal tissues and this there is free fetal DNA is also found in the mother's blood, which can be easily isolated. Okay, so this is the technique which most commonly done nowadays. So these are the various methods by which we can um, do the prenatal diagnosis as early as possible. That's all about the today's lecture. I try to finish the lecture on time. So if you have any query which you have not understood, you want to ask something,